for the issue of the swimming pools and how I expressed my displeasure with the decision to once again not show any sense of urgency in opening these neighborhood pools, particularly down in Pine Brook and over in Westside at the Novembrino pool. We were told by Mr. McGough that the swimming pools are, quote, a luxury. And, you know, I think that was one of the most insulting statements made here from this chamber that I could remember in a long time.
Insulting to whom?
It was insulting to the residents of this city, Mr. McGough, that your arrogance, that it's a luxury. And it's a luxury, you're right, it is a luxury, and it's a luxury that you took away by your squandering of our money, the fiscal mismanagement by you and past councils and the administration, so you could shake your head and continue to insult. But yeah, you're right, it did irk a lot of people. It was insulting. Okay, this is a luxury that our great-grandfathers and forefathers worked their blood, sweat, and tears to give us these luxuries, the parks, the pools, and you took it away. And I think you owe the children, the seniors, and the residents of this community who got their $300 garbage bill, whose taxes just went up 57%, you owe them an apology because they've had to pay their fair share due to your mismanagement and the mismanagement of others. Yeah, you're right, they do deserve a luxury. You know, maybe you've benefited from luxuries and you've been given things in life because you've been successful, but there's a lot of unfortunate people in this community that do struggle. You know, Mr. McGaughan hit it on the head last week. There are a lot of people that are poor. This is a very poor community, and they rely on these assets that you gave away. You took them away from the children. You did. You're responsible for it. You're responsible for squandering $3.5 million of the golf course proceeds that we've repetitively addressed, that the interest was to specifically be used for parks and recreation. You spent that, nobody else. No, it isn't wrong, it's right. It was perpetually put in a trust fund. It was fought by a resident of this community. Yes, it most certainly was, Mr. McGough, and you took it away when the golf course was sold to Mr. DeNaples, another asset that we sold. So to have the audacity to sit there and insult me and the residents of this community and allow the seniors and the kids now to swelter in the heat once again because you took their luxury away, you should hold your head in shame. But I've been working with the Pine Brook Neighborhood Group, and I'm glad it's comical. I really am. I'm glad it's comical that you took a luxury away from the children and the seniors and all those hardworking people that have paid their fair share through the years. I'm glad it's comical. But since it's comical to you, it isn't comical to me, and that's why I'm bringing in an expert, Mr. Greg Herbster, who, if we can recall years ago, was the director of Parks and Recreation. He knows those pools like the back of his hand.
I know him well.
That's good. And I'm going to bring him in, and he's going to look at the pools, and we're going to get to the bottom line and determine once and for all what repairs need to be made, so that each year we're not going back and forth playing this critical thinking game like it's such a big deal to determine what repairs need to be made, that we're that incapable of managing our simple assets. And I understand people will talk about that at this critical time the city has a lot of other issues going on that take priority, particularly our finances. But these are the little things that need to be addressed, and we have an inability to take care of the little things, let alone the massive things. And that's sad and pathetic, it really is. And I'm working with the Pine Brook Neighborhood Group, Mrs. Chalipko and her group, and others who have reached out to me, and we're working on some things so that next year at this time, the children do have the pools, and their luxury is given back to them, and it's not taken away from ignorant people who have no respect for anybody but themselves. So, you know, there's a lot of things. As far as Nayog Park goes, the $5 fee, this council needs to ask that question. I understand the authority, they determine what goes on, but this council needs to send a letter and make it quite clear that $5 is absolutely ludicrous. You know, the residents of this city have taken beating after beating after beating with no sympathy whatsoever, because they're the ones that are constantly left out, hanging to dry, and every burden's put on them. But I could let everybody know tonight that I'm working hard with others who are concerned, and I know with the smirk, it's funny, but I take pride in it. And I'm not going to stop until these pools do open, and there's a lot of other people out there that were quite insulted by the statements that have come forward, and they're going to work diligently to see that this happens. And with Mr. Herbster coming in and looking at them, who knows more about those pools than anybody that could be brought in. And I look forward to the day that we get our luxury back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Dobson?
Good evening, Dave Dobson,
Good
resident
evening.
of Scranton. Okay, last week we mentioned about the running race, the marathon, and how it brought people in. And I'd like to point out and request that Steamtown, that you send some kind of letters to, in support of Steamtown to our representatives in Washington. It brings in a minimum per train ride 300 people into the city. And they stop at restaurants, and it was the mall at Steamtown at one time. Now the mall is up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen to it, but I have seen people shopping there, and it's a really interesting experience, and there's a lot of static displays and stuff to see. So and it's very educational. So please consider a letter to our representatives and senators on Steamtown. They've been cut back 20% over 2 years, and they were never raised from the day the place opened. They got $5.2 million, and it never increased from 1994. I'm happy to see that Upper Hickory Street was paved, and I'm on Lower Hickory Street, and it's been milled. Jack, please, don't let the gas company or the sewer authority know, okay? And that
We'll
goes
try.
for you out in TV land. Okay. We need to start to focus on delinquent collections with some of those trash bills, former trash bills. I mean, if somebody owes it now, it's one thing, but owing it for 5 years or whatever, that's insufferable. It should be paid. And once again, I'd like to see council get a little more active at lobbying state representatives on issues. For instance, a local issue, our taxes went up. Well, guess what? Unless you spend in excess of $12,200 per couple, you cannot claim your property taxes on your income tax. The guy that has a $20 million mortgage, he can claim his interest, he can claim his taxes, but you can't, because you live within your means. And that's ridiculous. Now, they just turned that around about 2 years ago with that sequester business. And the small guy is the guy that got the hit. I got not 10 cents deduction on income tax, interest, mortgage interest rate, or anything like that. Charitable deductions, forget about it. It's money out of your pocket. Everybody calls me, says it's tax deductible. Well, guess what? It's not. I'll give it to you anyway, but it's not tax deductible. I get in their face about it. And once again, I'd like to mention that our Chamber of Commerce is creating a commercial property bubble. And it's going on nationally, and it's got to stop. That's why several businesses have moved out of the city, and that's why the mall is in the shape it's in. We just have too many commercial properties being built, and it's good for a few trade unions or whatever, but it does nothing for us except to have people jumping back and forth. You don't even know where they're at anymore. And I have better things to do than to freeze my buns off going up on Montage Mountain. You know, it's like I don't have to walk through the weather with them all. Okay, the Golden Parrot goes to Jenny Beth Martin, Tea Party darling. She makes more than the president. She gets $400,000 a year. Turns over 5% to the candidates, and the rest of the money goes to consultant fees and what have you, probably family members or who knows. So she gets the Golden Parrot. And don't forget to call your congressman And tell them to scrap the Trans-Pacific Trade Pact because we have enough joblessness to go around. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to address council? Don't fight.
We're not fighting.
Plenty of time.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
In regards to the pools, I hope there could be a spirit of cooperation between the council and the mayor in letting an independent individual come in and look at the state of the pools and try to find a solution to the problem in the community. Maybe we can raise some money somehow with some fundraisers, or some of the community block grant money could be released to make these pools function. And I just hope the council would pass that message to the mayor, and really, I think we can get a lot done if we determine we're going to work together. The other question I have is, I guess it goes to you, Mr. Lascom, if that's all right, Mr. McGough. What's going to happen with the firemen when the grant money runs out?
That's still in discussion. You know, we may end up going into more brownouts again. It depends. We haven't worked on the budget for next year. We're still hoping for, you know, a continuation or the new SAFER grant. That hasn't been awarded yet. It's been applied for. But there's still a lot of variables at this point.
Okay, and Mr. Wessler, I just have one question, and I know you don't have the answer tonight, but just for the sake of my own curiosity, if we were to take a look at the city's complete debt, including all the authorities, all the money it owes to all these different sources, what would the debt be per resident, you know, per structure in the city, if that was broken down? I just like that. I was just wondering if that would be a number that you could come up with. And, you know, I've talked to some people in the city in the last little period of time here, and they're just, I don't know how to really say it without, I don't want to be critical, but there's just really not much left that the people in the city can give. And really, there's nothing left for us to give. And I just think that maybe we should really consider if the state of the condition of the city is because the residents of this city have been overtaxed for decades. And we can all talk about how taxes should move up incrementally over a course of time and a period of time, but I just think that we need to find some real solutions here. And so many people are just screaming, like, they're asking why we just don't roll over and go bankrupt or name a receiver. They don't know what we're going to do with our pensions. These people are just, they've had it. I mean, they've just lost all the faith in city government. And of course, they have problems with other parts of government. But, you know, I just hope the council, the 5 members of council and the mayor could come together. And I still believe that the best course of action for this city at this time, for a future, to start building a future together, is to introduce SAPA and pass it. Because we have to find a new road to travel. And the road we've been on for a long time has been unproductive. And we can keep voting against everything. But sooner or later, we have to regionally come together and move together to do one thing: create jobs. And people who come from outside the city to work here will spend money here. And the residents here will earn money here. And they will invest their money here. We played a lot of games. Look at the North Scranton project. They're waiting to see what HUD's going to do. I mean, look at everybody's at the public trough. And we need to move in a new direction. And I hope the council could understand that SAP is an avenue of approach that is desperately necessary for this city. And I think it's time that we put all politics together. And just in this, I'd say, Mr. Lascom, don't you think that really we could use some revenue to make sure that we have fire protection and police protection and a city that's actually functioning? And can we really lose anything by trying a new direction and giving it a chance? Give it some thought, and maybe you'll bring it up and you'll pass it and the mayor will sign it, and we'll have a plan to start proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Good evening, City Council.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Romborski.
I'm Tom Umvarsky, and I've been coming to these meetings longer than any of you have been on City Council. And I've seen what happens when a council doesn't investigate, ask questions, and debate what's on the agenda. Tonight, you're taking from the table for a financial advisor. Now, anybody in business knows that when they hire someone, he has to make them a living, he has to make his living, plus a profit for the employer. I hope tonight you will tell us what we can expect from this advisor. I can't understand why you're taking this from the table when you have someone, Mr. Amarola, who is going to give you some free advice. Why can't you wait until Mr. Amarola comes in with his advice and then see what you're going to do? I hope you know what this advisor is going to cost you. He should at least earn what we're going to pay him in some kind of a savings. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Marie Schumacher.
Good evening.
I will start off with a follow-up. Now, tonight in the caucus, it was mentioned that PFM representatives were at a city meeting, so I can assume that the answer to my first question about that contract proposed contract that I raised last week, that in fact they have been performing pre-contractually for a matter of at least months, if not just this week. But is someone going to answer those questions specifically tonight, or do I need to go through them one at a time?
I can answer them after the meeting, or at any time,
No, I
actually.
would prefer now, before the vote. I'd like to know what the answers are. Okay, so they have in fact been pre-contractual since March?
Yes.
Terms and conditions may be supplemented. Is this with or without the approval of council?
If you would give me a moment. I'm just looking for the email that has the Mr. Balzoni's response. Do you have the hard copy by any chance?
Don't have it.
If you would, I will find the answers. Dan. I have too many emails. That's the problem.
I was going to make that suggestion, but what the heck?
Okay.
Got it?
The second question, is that what it was? Article 111?
No, Article 3, terms and conditions. Well, if you're saying 111, they were Roman numerals, so it would appear to be appear to be 111.
Oh, okay, Article 3. Mr. Baldessoni said that this is standard contractual language and does not require modification.
That doesn't answer my question, which was that the terms and conditions may be supplemented. will those supplements come before council, or will they not?
Uh,
I understand terms and conditions. I mean, I understand things change
I don't know.
throughout the life of a contract,
I
but...
do not know.
Okay. Article 9 states that the city's liability is limited to the appropriations approved for this effort. As stated by Mr. McGough, there is no appropriation for this effort for 2014, nor is it possible to appropriate forward until the proposed budget is received from the mayor and approved by council for next year. So this is a contractual item that is impossible to execute and a dangerous liability for the taxpayers. Obligating appropriations outside the context of the entire budget is not a good practice.
PFM on page 16 of the proposal says that we understand the city may be under pressure in 2014, therefore we are willing to defer any hourly compensation until 2015, which I think is a reasonable.
Well, but then that is, there is still no appropriation, and you are committing to an appropriation, and what have they spent for the last 2 months, since they've been working for 2 months? I mean, at what rate are they burning through this money?
I don't know that they're burning through anything, and I don't know how many hours they have been working.
I would like somebody to check into that.
Payments being deferred to 2015 is, I believe, a good practice for us.
I don't think it's a good practice because
Okay.
we don't have a budget for next year. You're obligating money for next year's budget that's a big chunk, probably, out of the budget, and then what else gives? Does anything else give? Or are we going to, I'd like to go through the rest of these since a lot of my time was spent
Go
looking
ahead.
for your email, okay? There is no fixed transaction fee. The number 2 person or number 2 company did provide a transaction fee, and I think that's very important as well. So
There is no, the response is no fixed transaction fee. The fees are stated in the proposal, and we have the ability to limit the amount of effort in any of the initiatives.
I'm sorry, could you read amount of effort? Somebody coughed and I didn't hear it after that.
We
I'm
have
sorry.
we have the ability to guide the process by limiting the amount of time on any initiative.
Okay, the deferment, oh, well, I already did that one. The analyst hourly rate disconnect was mentioned by Joan the week before. In one place, it was stated as $275 an hour per analyst, and in the another, it was stated as $225 per hour. Which
$225
is it?
per hour.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I think I should have a little more time, but I'll be back next. No, I may not. Thank you.
Thank you. There's Chrissy after his long vacation.
Hey, Jack. You know that, Jack? Monday night, before I was on Scranton, Jack? These guys do a good job downstairs, every one of them. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Welcome back. You're dressed for work tonight.
Good evening, Scranton City Council. Bill Jack with South Scranton resident,
Good evening.
members of the Taxpayers Association. First of all, I'd like to start off by complimenting Mr. Gahn for speaking up last week about the compliment about swimming pools being a luxury. I guess the other 3 council members must be in favor of it and agree with Mr. McGough because they did not speak up or say anything.
Don't assume
don't assume
anything
that,
because
please.
somebody doesn't speak.
Pardon me?
That would be improper.
Mr. Jackwitz, I spoke on that under motions, and I support the pools being open, and I actually also mentioned that I believe the NAOG should be under the city, not the Recreation Authority.
Okay.
We also are attending the meeting on Monday night, so please don't assume what my opinion is.
Well, I'm
Without
not
getting all the
assuming. I'm
facts.
just stating what a fact that I believe. I'm not assuming anything.
No, you made an assumption.
So, no, I didn't. But anyway, we've been fighting this battle for pools over years and years and years. I have a question. Returning veteran, let's say a veteran coming back from Iraq or from Afghanistan, who's been out defending the country and the people of this country. Do you think their children should be allowed to swim when they come back to Scranton? Mr. Wexler?
I believe everyone should have free swimming, but the reality is there's a cost to it.
Mr. Rogan?
I believe it should be free.
Mr. Loscom?
I concur with Mr.
Mr.
Rogan.
Gahn?
What exactly is your question again?
Well, basically, let's say veterans, should their children, especially war veterans, should their children be allowed to swim in Scranton?
Yeah, I believe everyone should be allowed to swim, definitely. Nobody
Mr.
should
McGough?
be barred from swimming.
I believe everyone has a right to swim, if that's what it is.
Okay. So then it's not a luxury. It's a right.
No.
That's what you said.
No, I still think that the city's involvement in the swimming process, my personal opinion, is that is a luxury that the city provides,
Okay.
not a necessity.
Are the children in the city of Scranton responsible for the financial distress that the city's been in for over 8,000 days? Are they responsible for it, or are the elected officials, past mayors, past city council members, are they the ones who made the decisions to squander the money and waste the money? We keep hearing about our financial situation. My question is, are the children of the city of Scranton responsible for that? Would anybody like to answer that?
You're asking something that really can't be answered.
Why can't it be answered? Someone's responsible. Are you saying no one is responsible?
I don't know.
The votes that city council members made in the past are not responsible?
You want me to answer?
Go ahead.
If some child goes and defaces the pool house at Connell Park, yes, they are responsible.
Exactly. If they do vandalism, 100%
So you've
right.
asked. And
But
I
does that mean that they're denied the opportunity because our past mayors and city council members made ridiculous votes and squandered all the money and wasted it, and now we use as an excuse the fact that the city is financially strapped? We've been financially strapped for 22 years, over 8,000 days, for God's sakes. We go through this every year. Nothing ever gets resolved, and then we get a comment that swimming is a luxury in the city.
It's a personal belief.
Well, I tell you, it sure offended a lot of people. I mean, I don't know if you guys go out and talk to the people in the city of Scranton, but I tell you what, most people in the city are totally disgusted. Not only are they disgusted with city government, they're disgusted with county government and state government and federal government. Because people are going to work and they're not making any money because all the money is going to be paid to taxes. And then we're told that our children can't swim because it's a luxury. I totally disagree with that statement, and I think it was I know it was an insult to me, especially being a veteran, and I think it was an insult to a lot of other veterans who go out there and defend the right for their children to go out and have the opportunity to swim on a 92-degree day. Now, if we're going to be fair about all this, then none of the pools in the city of Scranton should be open, and that should also be Naog Park, unless the city is willing to run a shuttle service throughout all the neighborhoods and shuttle the children to the pools that are open. Otherwise, all the pools should be closed because it's not fair for the children who live in neighborhoods whose pools are closed, like Southside, West Scranton, and the Pine Brook section. It's not fair to those children. So I really think someone should look into this, get with whoever you need to get with, the mayor, Parks and Recreation, and see if we can set up a shuttle or some kind of service so that the children can have at least the opportunity to go swim, because it's not a luxury.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to address council?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Lewis, West Scranton. Haven't been here in a while, and I just have a few loose ends, so I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. I concur, by the way, with Mr. Jackwitz's idea. I think if we're going to close pools, which I am not totally dismissive of your opinion either, Mr. McGough. I understand. I do believe they are a luxury, but it's a luxury that has become somewhat of a tradition in Scranton, and I think that's where the little bit of a, feeling that we have come to feel we deserve
I
them.
don't disagree with you.
Right. Well, I sense that you probably don't. And, but I do also think that if we are going to close them, we have to be fair-minded about it and equitable. And if we're going to leave one or two open, we should provide some kind of transportation, shuttle, maybe even twice a week, just to give those children that don't have a pool within walking distance. And if we can't afford that, then we really should consider, like I said, being fair across the board and shutting all of them down. I know it's hard to take, but it's just unfair that you get a certain amenity by virtue of where you live in the city, and other people that pay just as much do not receive it. So that's my little 2 cents on the pools. Other loose ends I have. First, I want to say really quickly hello to my neighbor. She encourages me occasionally to come and speak, and if it wasn't for her presence in my block of West Scranton, I don't think I would even be there. So she's a long-time West Scranton person, same residence for, I think, over 50 years, and I appreciate her presence in my block. Now, on to the actual points that I'd like to make tonight. Generally speaking, I get the impression watching council that I don't sense urgency, and it's not even a matter of not having urgency now that we're in this financial situation, pressing situation, but I don't sense urgency almost ever in Scranton government officials. Maybe I'm not picking up on it, but I know that I personally, if I lived in a city and I was an elected official right now, representing Scranton in any capacity, I would feel and want to project a sense of urgency. I would be coming to these meetings with my sleeves rolled up. That's because I feel we have a lot on our plate, and I think if we're going to overcome them, what we're facing, we really need to start rolling up our sleeves and getting down to brass tacks. That's just my personal feeling on the temperament or the demeanor that I sense. Other than that, I want to talk briefly. Councilman Rogan had an idea about the boys' clubs and lifeguards and stuff. Good idea. I thought it was something that could be pursued. As far as the report card idea, I don't think it would work, only because you'd have children perhaps, besides getting their report cards wet possibly, you might have somebody finding somebody else's report card, and you don't want to provide fodder for more incidents, making fun or bullying and so forth. But although I don't agree with the idea, I applaud the fact that you spoke up and offered your idea, because I sense when I talk to people in Scranton, they have ideas and they want a conduit of sorts to their government, and they also want to hear ideas coming from their government so that we can have a real dynamic of discussion going on, discourse. That's, I think, how you solve problems. And on that note, I'd like to finish. I'm going to jump ahead here because I'm probably running short on time. Because in the past, I think 2.5 years ago maybe, I came to this DS and suggested that then council create roundtable discussions comprised of people that have expertise, others just citizens who are willing to roll up their sleeves and start generating ideas and to use a word that is now overused, brainstorm. Mr. Jackwitz has offered the Dante Club, I believe, as a place where we can meet. And so I'm going to, in the next few weeks, put out an offer to Scrantonians who love the city, want to see the city through this, and want to offer ideas up. Now, not everyone is going to have a winning idea, and we expect to have many setbacks, but I want people that are going to stay the course, work with their government officials, continue with a positive, attitude, because we do have a lot to overcome, and you cannot become, I think, disappointed too quickly. Otherwise, we will not make progress. So, on that note, I thank you all, and thank you also to Mr. Gahn for getting back to me on things. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to address council? Mrs. Reed?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Wexler?
Thank you, Mr. McGough. This week, we received the Single Tax Office City Funds Distributed Comparison for 2014 against 2013. This would be for the month ending April 30th, 2014. As you may know, the total real estate tax for the city was budgeted at about $28 million. That's a combination of a couple of different things. To date, about $19 million has been collected of that. Represents about 70% of the total. A number that struck me was that it's plus $7 million from this period last year. On the other side, the business privilege tax is currently about $100,000 behind from last year. This is a bit concerning to me and also to members of the administration. And actually, it's because of some of the things that we've seen happening in the city where businesses have either closed or left the city. In addition, I have requested and reviewed, I just received it today, a report from Berkheimer Associates containing information about the amount of wage taxes that have been collected in the first quarter of 2014. Like I said, I just received it today, and I am going to sit down with the Treasurer Wayne Beck and Business Administrator Dave Balzoni to get their input and views on where we are and where we should be at. And other information from the Business Administrator's Office, due to an illness of a very key person in that department, we are experiencing some delays in generating some reports that are necessary for us to function with our financial people and also with Pell. So the city has reached out to a former employee and treasurer of in Scranton. The person's name is Doug Hine. Doug is going to work on a part-time basis in the business administrator's office. He is going to be paid a fee of $25 per hour. He is going to try to limit his hours to 5 hours per week. And right now, the amount of money that has been allocated to this will be capped at about $10,000 coming out of our professional services. In other news, I agree with some of the comments tonight. I wish things were moving faster also in the city. I'm only here 5 months. I've been active in the city for 20 years. And I can tell you, things just don't move fast. Everywhere we go, we get the same frustration. When's something going to happen? I can only tell you this, and I've stated this before, and people are tired of me saying this. The administration, including the mayor and his people, this council, our office, we're working every day. We're making progress every day, gaining information. I'm kind of looking at this. We were handed the budget for 2014. We're working with it. The pools, that was kind of handed to us. A lot of things, we're working with them and trying to make them the best they are for 2014. And my role as finance chair, a lot of people think I should be saying a lot more. I'm actually looking at numbers for 2015. There's not much that I can do as finance chair right now. There really isn't. I can report information as I get it. The information that we're getting, and we spoke about this, is the budgeting process is a year-long thing. We don't want to get into a situation, and I'm not sure if this happened or not, but it always appeared that way, that everything was done at crunch time. Crunch time for me is going to start when we have 6 months of information in. We have some true numbers that we can track estimates against true values and start going from there. And that's, that for me, that's how I plan on doing my job as finance chair. Some of the other comments that were made, I go to neighborhood meetings every week. I'm a strong neighborhood person. When we talk about positive people, they're in the neighborhood associations. Last night I attended a meeting of the Oakmont Association on the other, up by Lake Scranton. Oakmont is kind of a curious neighborhood because it's entering the stage now where the original residents are reaching time for them to sell their homes. And there is a huge influx of young families who have made the decision to live in Scranton because of the benefits of the things that we have. To me, that is a major sign of the city itself, the government, we're having our problems. But the neighborhoods and the people of Scranton, they get it, and they're working towards it. There's a new president at Oakmont by the name of Mike Kelly. I turned 55 on Friday, so I call these guys young guys now. But he's a young guy, he's a father, and he became active in his neighborhood association just because he saw the need. And that's what we need. And I agree, a round table of ideas and discussions is a great thing. If you have it, we can actually come. If we form it, 3 of us can't be there together. If you have a meeting, we can attend. I would encourage anybody that wants us to attend. When I say we, all this council, we're not afraid to go out in the public. We aren't out. Mr. Jackowitz asked, do we out in public? I'm out in public all the time. I don't hide from anybody. I take phone calls. To touch on another subject, I received a letter from a constituent who's not satisfied with my performance. But that person did not put any contact information for me to get back to them. So I want to explain to that person, if they want to send me, my number's in the phone book. I kind of work off the machine because I'm not there as much as I should be. Call my house. I don't have a problem with somebody who disagrees with me doing something that they don't think I'm doing right. Like I said, I'm only in this job 4 months. It takes a long time to, get your feet wet, and, the hardest thing you do is you fight to get elected, and then you get the job. And then you say, what am I going to do? And that's kind of where we're getting our feet wet. In terms of the swimming pools, myself, I am attending the rec meeting on Monday night just to get feedback from what's going on down there. I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't have small children anymore. I don't go to the pools anymore. But like I said, this sense of urgency, we have it. It may not appear, because I don't want to run around looking like my hair is on fire. I want to work on the job, get information, and proceed in the best way possible for the city. Thank you, Mr. McGough.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes, just 2 very brief items. It was reported in the paper today regarding the first meeting that was held through our OECD office, reaching out to the community on prioritizing how our federal funds are spent. If you haven't already, I encourage you to check out the city's website, www.scrantonpa.gov, print out the survey and fill it in. Get it into the city to let your voice be heard. And I wasn't planning on commenting on the pools again, but just because it was brought up by so many speakers, I'll reiterate my position on swimming. I believe that children in the city of Scranton should swim for free. Their parents, when they come to the pools, they should have to pay. Children from outside of Scranton should have to pay. But children of residents who are taxpayers should not have to pay. When I was a kid, I would go to the Novembrino pool all the time, and it was one year we paid $1, the next year it was free, but it was never a $5 fee, and the pool was always open. And it breaks my heart that the kids in my neighborhood in West Side don't have a place to swim. Which is somewhere where I spent a lot of my summers as a kid, there in the West Side Little League, right down the way. But I hope moving forward, and as Mr. Wexler mentioned, the current administration is dealing with the previous mayor's budget. And what was put in there for pools was put in, and there was very little communication between that administration and city council. It was just the way it was. Luckily, things are much better on the communication front now. But I really think that the city needs to find partners to open up these pools. I don't think it's something that can be done solely on the back of the taxpayer. I think it has to be partnerships through our nonprofits, through the school district, through neighborhood organizations, and they want to help. I firmly believe that instead of approaching our nonprofits for a cash check in lieu of taxes, it's a much easier sell to say, well, your nonprofit is located in the Hill section. Would you like to give a donation of X amount that will go specifically for the Hill section? And if you do that in each area where these nonprofits are, I think they would be much more willing to help when they see the result. If we could go with plans to say, well, we'll pave 3 roads in this neighborhood with this money, instead of just write us a check, it will go in the general fund. I think we could be a lot more successful in pursuing pilots in that manner. And also in the pools, sponsorships. I know we've talked about it before on council. I think it's something that really would work. It would be nice to have the Wells Fargo Novembrino complex, or whoever would like to sponsor, or a variety of sponsors. You could even do it rotating on a weekly basis to have those in the community help pay for the swimming, instead of the taxpayers. But it is something that I think the kids in the city should have in the summers. And I believe one of the speakers summed it up perfectly. It's not a right, but it's a tradition in the city, and it's something that should continue. And we should do everything we can to see that the children have a place to swim. So that's all I have for tonight.
Could I just add to that? We hired a group to solicit advertising, what we referred to as MBROs. Pools would be a great place for advertising, as Mr. Rogan said. I would encourage this company that we have hired through, that the city has hired to pursue that. As you said, the Wells Fargo pool or, Garrity's pool or whatever it is, a great idea that needs to be pursued.
And I think a perfect example of that is if you go to any Little League field in the city, along the back fence are all different advertisements for different businesses, nonprofits, stores, something along those lines. Or if you want to just have one gold sponsor and only that one name is put there for a very large dollar amount, or a bunch of smaller donors like the Little Leagues do. And I know they're very successful in raising funds on an annual basis with those sponsorships. And that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Lasko?
Thank you. Just a couple things. We've received a letter this past week regarding parking in the 300 block of DuPont Court, which is directly behind the Mulberry Apartments, the old Chamber building. And that's the only access to the parking lot, 53 parking spaces for Management Enterprises building there. And what's happened is it's impossible to make a sharp turn. It's causing a lot of dangerous situations. There's not supposed to be any cars parked there. They did send us photographs showing the cars actually extending almost out near the street, blocking the sidewalk. We did contact Chief Graziano, and he responded right back that he will step up the enforcement in that area. They requested some signage, but I believe signage, because there is no parking allowed there, they shouldn't have to have signage either, because it is an ordinance in that court. But we'll follow up on that and make sure that's enforced. I would like to thank our fire department for their quick response to 2 fires last night, one on Main Avenue and West Side and one on Main Avenue in North Scranton. They were able to make some good stops there and save the buildings. Next, since everybody else discussed the swimming pools, I'll put my 2 cents in. And we're not all going to agree here on everything, but we do work together to get the ultimate result. And I'm not going to sit here badgering an individual or anything like that. I have to say, and I think those that have seen me over the years, I'm closely aligned with Mr. Rogan on this issue. In fact, we've gone to neighborhood meetings in Pine Brook, and we've been working, actually, Mr. Miller mentioned it. We have actually been in contact with Mr. Herbster, who is working with us on some issues. But the big factor is we had money in ComD funding for that pool, and it was eliminated. But we were able to keep, I believe it was $45,000 towards the repairs. Is that enough? We're still working on it. Am I disappointed that the administration came out with a letter that they don't have any intention on opening the pools this year? I definitely am. I haven't had a chance to sit down with the mayor yet. But we have been working on issues like Mr. Rogan said about advertising and working with neighborhood organizations and businesses to get this up to speed. The problem is, and I know we sit here every week and like some of the speakers say, they run into people on the street and they're complaining that nothing's being done and this and that. It's hard to sit here because we know there's a lot being done. There's a lot we can't broadcast yet, but the pieces of the puzzle are being put together. In my 4 years on council, I have had more emails, personal phone calls, and meetings with the administration in this last 3 months than I did in the previous 4 years. I find that commendable because it's open. They're keeping us all in a loop, and everybody is CC'd on these. There is a lot going on, and rolling up our sleeves, believe me, I have the same. We're wishing things could be done a lot quicker, but the pieces of the puzzle are coming together. Believe me, on the financial end of it, on the administrative end of it, department end of it, there's a lot of things that have been left go for many years that have to be redone now and picked up. Look at it. The majority of this administration has started from scratch with what they have here. And I think it's commendable. Yes, we're going to have mistakes. We're going to have problems. But I'm just asking, from my perspective, I'm very optimistic with what's been going on. The unfortunate thing is, some of us here, most of us, have a full-time occupation, so we try and get to every meeting that we can, or every, again, we're in contact. If we're not at a meeting with someone from the administration, we're forwarded the information. So everyone is in the loop. I think we're all working hard to straighten out the finances of this city, straighten out the finances, then we could straighten out the different departments. But there are a lot of little things that crop up in between, the usuals, the potholes, the signs, and a little bit of everything. Now we get into the summer season, you're going to have people complaining about barbecue grills and loud music and stuff like that. It's a seasonal thing. But I think this administration is adapting to, what's been going on. It is a hard process. There's a lot of mess out there. And I think given some of the moves that have been done, I think in the long run, people will be happy. Was I happy we had to raise the taxes? Definitely not. I took a big hit on them. Was I happy with the garbage fee? Not at all. I mean, it's some hard decisions. But by making those decisions, now we have the financial communities looking at us seriously and saying, this city does want to move ahead. This administration, these councilmen are working together to move ahead. They're working together. We have to work together. We have to look at the future. And you could disagree with me, and Mr. Wexler mentioned a letter he received. I mean, get used to it, Joe, because they come in regularly. I had a woman send me a letter because I didn't wear a tie one night, so she was upset with that. But we do have a lot of big issues. There's a ton of little issues, and we're trying to get to all of them at the same time. But I have to tell you, I mean, we know that we're on the verge of not prosperity, but straightening things out. We're getting some people to believe in us, and I see that. And I just hope everyone is patient with us and with the administration. Who knows? Maybe in 2 years I'll be bashing the administration. But if things go sour for some reason, but right now I cannot, I have nothing but good things to say with what I've seen going on. And it's not just one person getting information. Everybody is in the same loop. And all I see is progress for all of us. So I'm just hopeful that we all work together and we all start to have a positive feeling about this. I know the tax hit hurt. The garbage fee hurts a lot of elderly. I have a mother that lives alone. I know it. But, if we grit our teeth and get through this, I'm confident we have better days ahead of us. We could attract business and stuff like that. Like Mr. Lee Morgan mentioned SAPA. One time I was against SAPA. I haven't reviewed the newest plans. There was a different circumstance back then. I really don't know how it's going to benefit us totally, because people cannot be forced to move their business to Scranton or anything like that. But I am definitely open-minded and willing to give it another look. And if it's going to benefit us a little bit with their latest plans, I'm definitely open to it. Things could change over the years. But I just want to say I am hopeful. I am optimistic. And you know, it is hard sitting here sometimes and listening to, and don't get me wrong, everyone has a valid argument, valid concern, because I mumble those same arguments myself, so, but we have to bite our tongue because we see a lot more what's going on, and knowing that there are things coming up in the future that I think will benefit us all. But they can't be broadcast for fear of destroying the opportunities. So please, all I ask is to be patient with us and with this administration, and hopefully my predictions will come true. Thank you.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes, thank you. Just a few items. First, would like to thank the DPW for taking care of a large overturned stump that was creating a problem for residents and blocking the sidewalk in the 900 block of Monroe Avenue. They have been very responsive, and I thank them for that. I have received numerous complaints about the bottom of Cherry Street as you turn onto South Washington Avenue going over the railroad tracks. The DPW blacktopped the one side of that street and did a great job, but the other side is still in pretty rough shape, and this is a heavily traveled road, so I will be reaching out to our DPW director to see if we can eventually rectify the other side of that street. On the pool situation, I requested last week that council receive a report from the administration on the condition of each city pool, what upgrades are needed, and the estimated cost of these upgrades, just to get us all up to speed on that issue. I received a letter, we all received a letter today from Mr. Tom Lynch, the recreation specialist. He says, gentlemen, per your request, Weston Field and Weston Park pools will be opening this season. If any funding is needed, we will contact the Weston Foundation at PNC Bank. Connell Park Pool had extensive repairs done in 2013 with grant money and was open and will be opening in 2014. Any maintenance repairs can be paid with any remaining 2013 grant funds. Novembrino Pool Complex will not open this year. Hopefully with grant funding, we'll be able to open it in 2015. Penn Ridge Pool, also known as Kapaus Pool in Pine Brook, has grant funding allotted for it, but will not open in 2014 due to time restraint and site analysis. The two pools at Neog Park are under the Scranton Municipal Recreation Authority and will be open in 2014. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Very truly yours, Thomas P. Lynch, the recreation specialist for the city. So that is the response that we have received on the city pools for this summer. And I thank him for the response. The street sweeping schedule, the DPW is scheduled to be in the West Scranton area, Orem Street to Washburn Street from May 5th to May 9th, which will be next week. I had an interesting meeting today with members of the administration, Leslie Collins from Scranton Tomorrow, and a representative from KKPR Marketing, which is employed through a contract by the city. I actually saw this idea in a magazine. I just happened to, I almost looked at it by accident. It's called iCity, and what it is it's an application or an app for your phone, if you have a smartphone or an iPhone or an Android phone. And what the company does, or what they would do for the city if we were to keep exploring this, is we would have a City of Scranton app. So you would download it on your phone. What the app would provide would, it would promote community engagement involvement in tourism. It would promote economic development, organize business listings, connect residents and merchants, increase local sale and trade, and it would keep commerce local. The really cool thing about this, and the interesting thing is, if, for instance, the city has a emergency like we did a few months ago when we had the water main break in Southside. This, if you had this app on your phone, it would send you, we would have the control in City Hall to send you a real-time notification, a push notification. It will come up on your phone and tell you exactly what was going on. Do not go up this street, it's blocked, there's a water main break, we will be getting service back in such and such hours. There's a number of different things from listening to the presentation from members of iCity as I did today that I think would not only spur economic development, but it would increase civic engagement between our local government here in Scranton and the residents. So this is in the infancy phase, but it is something that I think would be a great idea. The administration is going to look at it, and I will continue to update my fellow members of council and the residents of Scranton as we continue to hopefully move forward on this, this project. And that is all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Briefly, as Mr. Gahn stated, the pools in Scranton this summer are not going to be closed. The pools that were open last year, or last summer, will be again open this summer. And we are pursuing, or the city is pursuing, an attempt to rectify the problems at Novembrino and at the House Avenue pool. The problem is, as it was last year, that extensive repairs are needed at both, and added expense if they were to open. And at this point in time, the city doesn't see it as feasible to make those repairs or have the funds to make those repairs and to open those two pools. As far as my comment that swimming is a luxury, my wife yelled at me as well for making that statement. I have believed that for a while. And all I mean by that is that if the city is going to spend money, there are priorities. And I would think that at the bottom of that priority list are swimming pools. If you're going to ask me to provide revenue for things that I feel are needed, you know, public safety, and where can we get it? One of the first things I would say is, let's consider, you know, closing pools or closing parks, or, you know, the things that I deem are, and I'll again use the term luxury. I grew up at Southside Pool, which is now Nichols Plaza. My kids, you know, went swimming at Naog. Swimming is a nice thing in the summer, and I'm glad that we have pools. I'm glad that we have the pools that we do. I would never do anything that would deliberately deny or close these pools. And in fact, even though I was accused of closing them, we have made every attempt, even in the past, to keep pools open. And we'll continue to do so. And even though I may feel that, you know, it's an expense, I've never voted to necessarily close a pool or to deny anybody the right to go in, you know, to these pools. But enough said on that. And we will continue to pursue, you know, the situation with pools and with the parks, you know, throughout the city. There was also a question about, I maybe should save this until legislation, but about PFM and their contract. And PFM is being hired to perform a very distinct function, very distinct from what Mr. Amoroso is doing. Mr. Amoroso was hired to analyze and to provide a plan or ideas for dealing with our financial situation. The role the PFM will play is in the negotiation of the finances or the financing of implementing that plan. That's what they do. They are distinct in their purposes. Most cities have financial planners or whatever title you want to give them, and that is the function they will perform. We have a lot of negotiations to do in order to deal with the financial situations that we have. And that will be the function of PFM along with the city administration. And again, reiterate what everyone else has said, this administration is working very hard at the problems that the city faces. And while you may not see the results every day, believe me, things are moving forward, and hopefully we begin to see some of the fruits of the labor that has been put into it. And that is all I have.
5B, for introduction and ordinance, amending file of the council number 47, 2013, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor and Other Appropriate Officials of the City of Scranton to take all necessary actions to implement the consolidated submission for community planning and development programs to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program, Home Investment Partnership Home Program, and Emergency Solutions Grants ESG program for the period beginning January 1, 2014, by amending the 2014 Action Plan to accept the $160,000 requested under the Emergency Solutions Grant Program in the original plan, and an additional $53,519 received under the program to address the needs of homeless people in emergency or transitional shelters for a total grant of $213,519.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question.
Yes, I neglected to mention under motions, these are additional funds that the city received from the federal government, and this is just the legislation accepting those funds.
All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, file of the council number 16, 2014, an ordinance amending section 108.1 of the Code of the City of Scranton governing disposal of city-owned personal property by adding subsection C.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second?
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, file of the council number 15, 2014, amending file of the council number 14, 2013 as amended, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor and Other Appropriate Officials of the City of Scranton to execute a deed conveying pedestrian bridge column parcels containing 9 square feet each located in the public right-of-way on the 300 block of Colfax Avenue, and conveying an aerial deed for the airspace located on the 300 block of Colfax Avenue where the pedestrian bridge is erected subject to a reverter clause, and to execute an air rights agreement between Geisinger Community Medical Center and the City of Scranton be further amended to reflect the new construction dates for the project.
As chair for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question.
Just on a question, as previously, I will be abstaining from this vote.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Loscom?
Abstain?
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, resolution number 53, 2014, appointment of Thomas S. Schuster, 1657 North Main Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18508, as a member of the Planning Commission for the City of Scranton. Mr. Schuster is replacing Mary Elizabeth Moylan, whose term expired on December 31, 2013, and she held over until April 9, 2014, when she submitted a letter of resignation. Mr. Schuster's term will expire on December 31, 2018.
As chair for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question.
Yes, best of luck to Mr. Schuster, and thank him for coming to our meeting tonight. We look forward to working with you.
Yeah. I think Tom is the first appointment that actually attended the meeting that he was appointed to, and I think Tom will be a great asset to the Planning Commission.
I concur with my colleagues.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Loscom?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted, and congratulations to Mr. Schuster.
7C for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, Resolution Number 54, 2014, accepting a donation presented to the City of Scranton Fire Department from PPL Services Corporation.
What is the recommendation of the Chair for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Loscom?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for adoption, Resolution Number 55, 2014, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a lease agreement with Horsepower Harley-Davidson Incorporated to lease 5 police package motorcycles for the City of Scranton Police Department.
What is the recommendation of the Chair for the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
Did I skip?
No.
Okay. I'm looking at the wrong page. On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Loscom?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
I would like to make a motion to take resolution number 50, 2014 from the table.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
7E, previously tabled, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 50, 2014, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a professional services contract with the PFM Group to provide financial advisory services for the City of Scranton for the period of 4 years from March 9, 2014 through March 8, 2018.
As Chair for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Loscom?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted. Any further business? Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.